Do I have to? Seriously? This is today's Arsenal reaction show. Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys and girls for what is a very happy show. Not today. and it's been pretty much the show that we've been doing for the last few weeks in the league, to be honest. It's just been pretty crap, isn't it? It's just not great. Let's just call it what it is. It's not good. And it doesn't feel great, and it feels like we're just kind of trudging to the end of this season. The league fizzled out a long time ago, but it's really hard to g yourself up for these league games, and then when obviously the results come as they have been, to talk about them afterwards. I understand those that choose not to listen to these. I understand those that choose to not watch. I get it. It seems counterintuitive for a content creator of any kind to kind of empathize with those choosing not to watch, but I get it. I really do, people. And as always, we are after these, not exactly particularly great results that we aren't enjoying. If you need to take a break, please do. Look after your mental health, people. It's not worth it. It's not football. It's just a game at the end of the day. So I recommend, as always, if you need to take it, take that break. But if you're here, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate all of you tuning in and listening. It is greatly appreciated. And you can still drop a like, still subscribe, all that usual YouTube-y stuff. I would be greatly appreciative of that, of course, as well. Even if you just dip in to drop a like and go, that's great. Thank you so much for your kind time. Let's jump into the chat box, shall we? Paul, good morning to you. Tazum, Arasilki, Carl, Stephen, Blackshine, Evan, Hooded Gooner, Claire, Granddaddy Gooner, Paul, Stevie, Amira, Scouse Gooner, NSW. We've got Matt G, we've got Mike, we've got Steve. Good morning to you all. Thank you for tuning in. It is indeed greatly appreciated. And so thank you for all of it, and for you being here as well. And those listening, of course, on catch up as well. You are also appreciated. Thank you for tuning in. Let's just get this done. Let's just get this done, shall we? Let's just jump into the chaos of this show and go through some of these slides. Simply not good enough. Just not good enough. It's as simple as this. I've been banging the drum about clinical finishing all season. For me, of what has been in our control, not finishing our chances is absolutely the top one. It's the top reason why Arsenal have not, within the means of their control, done better during this campaign, period, And I think that came to the fore here once again for Arsenal. They created opportunities. They didn't score them. And we'll go through some of those chances, of course, as well, and some of the issues that we found ourselves in. But it's just not good enough, these performances. I feel as though this is a team that are not trying in the same way that they were when there was something to try for, when the league was there. I get the apathy. I get the disappointment of what's happened to Arsenal this league season domestically. It must be really grating from a mental standpoint as well. It must be really agitating for what has happened to us to have happened to us. I get it. The injuries, the decisions, all those things, play on people's minds, play on the players' minds. There's a sense of, what's the point? I really do empathize with that. And there's just a dejection about the team at the moment in the league. And I asked Arteta after the game, for those of you that watched the press conference, watched it back, if you brought yourself to be able to do that. I asked Arteta afterwards, I said, is there any sense that as the gap to Liverpool opened and it's looked less likely that the title was attainable, have you noticed any difference in the domestic performances where the motivation, perhaps in the Champions League, where that trophy is there to chase? Do you notice any difference in the league? And he says, we try not to. I think that's something very, very individual. The way we have prepared the game, and today we talked a lot about the things that we have to do against a very good opposition that were very necessary to win the game. We certainly missed the most important one, which is defending the box, because we did it poorly 3 times, 3 very poorly, 1 in the first half and 2 in the second half, and it cost us the points. That's the reality. Yes, defending is definitely one of the big reasons why we didn't win. And, we'll talk about those individual moments about what cost us. But offensively as well, not taking those opportunities when they came was obviously massive. We are so wasteful as a team, like so wasteful. It's not like we're watching a team that are just struggling to beat sides because the other teams are better than them. They're creating chances hand over fist. You're just struggling to create anything at all. We keep creating opportunities in games. That's why I'm not concerned necessarily in the long term, because we keep on creating these chances. We're just so lacking in any kind of composure in the box whatsoever when those chances come along. And that's mental. It's a mental thing and it's a quality thing. And that needs to change in the summer. I think the mentality side of things, a refresh, a clean slate next season helps with that a lot. But mainly, obviously, as well, we need to try and find our way of signing the players that we need in the summer, because the squad, obviously, as is not good enough to do that. The lineup was a lot stronger than I think a lot of people thought. I thought we would go strong. I certainly picked a strong lineup in my pre-match suggestion. Raya, White, Saliba, Kivior. I went with Zinchenko. He went with Lewis Skelly. Partey, Rice, I picked. I went with Winery, not Odegaard. Saka, Martinelli, Marino. The only reason Marino didn't start was it was said that he is not available to start. He was only available to come off the bench, which is not a great sign ahead of obviously a really big game where we need him, I think, at centre forward. And Jurriën Timber was not in the squad at all. He suffered a knock in the PSG game. I'm told that it's minor and not serious, but obviously we don't know whether or not that it will be bad enough that it will keep him out of the PSG game. Hopefully not, because Ben White, I thought, looked a bit rusty, to be honest, which is understandable because he's not played too much this season. He's missed most of the season with an injury, so that's a frustration there as well. But hopefully Jurriën will be okay for the semi-final second leg. And then, of course, what can I say about the performance overall? I think I've already gone through it, but we'll go through some of the individual moments in the game as well. As mentioned, Arsenal dominated the opening proceedings of the game. Declan Rice had a great couple of chances in the first half that were missed. Martinelli setting him through on goal. Dragged his left-footed shot wide. There was a cross as well, I think, from Martinelli again. Rice on the half volley can't angle the shot on target. Both of those chances missing the target entirely. On the right-hand side, Bukayo Saka getting the ball in an advantageous position thanks to some hard work from Trossard. Finds Martinelli in the box on his left foot with time, with space, drags his shot left at the right at the post. 3 chances that Arsenal could arguably get at least 2 goals from. Both of them are missed. Not just missed in terms of a keeper making a save, but missing the target entirely. Finally, Arsenal did get a shot on target when Leandro Trossard managed to stoop low to put a header on target, but it wasn't enough in the corner, and Kepa gets down to manage to stop the shot. But again, that's 4 big opportunities there that sadly aren't taken. It obviously left Bournemouth the opportunity to go up the other end, have some of their own opportunities. We had to be on it. We'll talk about Saliba's involvements in the game, which obviously prevented, and there was a moment where Evan Nilsson headed the ball over the bar. Kivior losing his man. There was a moment where David Raya misplaced a pass to Odegaard, and that set up a chance for Evan Nilsson that thankfully he put over the bar. It was just stunk of a team not with it. It stunk of a team not entirely on it. Not fully focused, distracted maybe. Maybe that is indeed what bled into this game. Eventually, we did take the lead, though. Finally, Odegaard has a moment that we have been waiting for a very, very long time from Odegaard, and that is to make the right pass with the right weight at the right moment with a good move. Credit to Odegaard big time for this pass to Declan Rice, and even more so credit to Rice for the composure, finding a way to set the ball around the goalkeeper. Very, very good finish as well. Declan Rice on that number 8 position is going to be massive for us in midweek. He's been the best player in the second half of this season, that's for sure. And I feel as though that we'd absolutely need to see him in that 8 role. Partey hopefully will be fine to sit in the 6. But Rice and Saliba were the only 2 players really I could be comfortable sitting here and saying they had good games. Even then, Rice obviously missed a couple of very big opportunities, but he did take this one. Rice and Rice and Saliba were the best players on the pitch for Arsenal yesterday. I'm so glad we started Partey as well, because I said this in the game. When Partey misses a match, he's rusty. And he started this game very rustily, Partey. Misplaced 3 individual passes, putting Arsenal under pressure. And had to grow into the game. He did grow into the game, but still, it wasn't the Partey level of performances that we have come to expect this season. And ultimately, we're going to need him at his fit and firing best, of course, on Wednesday evening. We then go into the second half with that lead. And again, we continue to create opportunities for ourselves. Saka missing this opportunity on the left. Saka drifted the left a lot more than we've come to expect in games. He found himself with Trossard and Martinelli making quite a lot of movements. All 3 of them were interchanging positions throughout the match. But if anything, while it was intriguing to see, if anything, it unbalanced situations. It left kind of players looking for where others usually tend to be, and they just weren't in their usual pods. So I'm not sure if this was the right move. I think with Mika Moreno, obviously, it offers you more of a consistent centre-forward target man who's more stable and, more static in those areas, and maybe that would have helped. But look, Trossard had a decent run at centre-forward, scoring goals. I think it was 4 and 4 that he got. But we know that ultimately we aren't playing with a centre forward, and we haven't had a centre forward for, now 3 months, so 4 months even. So it's very, very difficult. But Arsenal's forward line missing many, many opportunities. Saka with a right-footed shot that went just wide of the post as well. Odegaard's. I just don't get I don't really understand what's going on in these moments. The crowd were baying for him to shoot at times and to do something more proactive. And he just kept on overplaying the ball, taking an extra touch, losing it in silly positions, not playing the right ball. It's one of the rare opportunities where we saw a better first half from Odegaard than we saw a second half. Usually he does a better second than a first, but here it was the reverse, and Odegaard faded. And I don't really get why he wasn't brought off the pitch sooner. I don't know why it took so long to make the changes in the game. We absolutely needed fresh blood. We needed to take these players out. We needed to rest them. We needed to give them opportunities. That's on Arteta. I really don't understand why substitutions were not made sooner, considering the context of the week coming up as well, and the context that we could see on the field. It was very, very frustrating. And I don't quite get why that didn't happen sooner. When Odegaard gets into these positions, he's just got no confidence anymore. His confidence is utterly shot. And you just feel like you just need to take him out of the fight sometimes. Again, I did want to give a shout out to William Saliba, who made 2 absolutely excellent interceptions and tackles. Unfortunately, though, the first one, of course, on Ouattara in the box to prevent what would obviously be a clear goal. The second one on Semenyo. Sadly, the second one that was an excellent tackle, and take nothing away from this tackle, led to the second goal. The equaliser, the second goal on the day, obviously. That throw-in, Arsenal don't defend it. They throw it into the box. They get it to the tallest man in the area, Dean Huijsen, who I thought was excellent on the day. And he finds the back of the net with a leaping header. Poor defensively. 48% of Arsenal's goals have been conceded from set pieces this season. That's awful. 48% of our goals we've conceded have been from set pieces. Considering how we've been notoriously known for how good we are at set pieces. Is that to do with Gabriel missing? Maybe, probably. The number of different back fours we've had in the league this season, I've lost count. And that lack of consistency, you can certainly point to being maybe a factor, but it's still not good enough. And we need to improve that record considerably, because conceding that many goals, I think only 2 teams have conceded more in the league from set pieces this season than us. Yeah, that needs to change, and dramatically. And Arsenal, as I say, undone by a long throw. Dean Huijsen there, leaping highest, meeting the ball, and David Raya, who didn't have a particularly great game either, saw the ball landing in the side netting. When he is beaten, Raya, he's never beaten necessarily by a chance. I look at it, I'm like, well, he should probably be doing better there. Most of the goals that he concedes, when they do eventually come around, are and have to be very good strikes, usually in the corners, to beat him. But it's just a shame that we didn't defend this situation much better. And they win the game through this moment. It's impossible to ever mention your gripes and your graining kind of irritation with VAR and decisions without coming across like you're making excuses. So can I just preface what I'm about to say with saying We weren't good enough to win the game. We were bad. We need to be better. Arteta's at fault. Some of the players are at fault. Many of the players are at fault. It's not good enough. It needs to change. So let's just preface this next conversation with that. So this is not about making excuses. All of that has to be said. We aren't good enough, have not been good enough, need to be better. Things need to change. So many things have to move forwards. So many things need to be changed. Right? So now let's talk about this in the separate context of what this is. This is a disgrace, is what this is. This is an utter disgrace. Both players, you see these moments in corners at the same time, both players holding on to each other. They're falling to the ground. Odegaard can't turn. Evan Nilsson's going to ground. It's 50-50. It is what I see a lot of people saying that Odegaard's fouling the guy. If you ever have a look from the other angles, you can see Evan Nilsson pulling his shirt, pulling him down. It's a grapple in the box. It's never a foul. So let's just remove that from the conversation because there is absolutely no foul here. Let's talk about how the goal goes in. The goal goes in off of his elbow. I mean, even if you want to talk about the foul and say it's potentially a penalty, whatever, give the penalty if you like. But let's just talk about the fact that the goal is given. The fact that this goal is given is a joke. It's such a joke. Utterly, disgustingly, horrendously applying the rules again. Every single replay of this, I was sitting there like, oh yes, handball goes off his elbow. I saw it for the first replay. You could see, oh yeah, it goes off his. If it goes, there's fans sitting in front of me in the press box, turning around because they had the benefit of those screens saying what's happening. I was like, touches his elbow. It's going to get ruled out. To my absolute shock, then they give the guy. I couldn't believe it. I could believe it, but I couldn't believe it. It's awful. It's genuinely horrendous. The fact the ball gets all the way through to there is in itself a problem. We don't defend the set piece well whatsoever. It's an awful, awful piece of set piece defending. And again, this is when the sympathy starts to creep into my mind about how our league form has been this season, because it's just non-stop. It's just non-stop, these things that keep cropping up and happening. I put on Twitter last night, the list of decisions. The only decision I can think of worse than this, the only one I can think of worse than this is the one against Brentford where they forget to apply the offside rule. Feel free if you can tell me a decision that you think is worse than this one. I could see it from every single angle that he hit the ball with his elbow. It was so clear. But yeah, they can sit there for minutes watching it over and over again like, shall we give the goal? I'm just sick. It just makes me think, like, what's the point? Like, what's the point? It's my job. It's my hobby. It's my life. It's my passion. Football. I love it. But what's the point when the people that are in charge of maintaining the sanctity of the game are just, excuse my French, they're just shit. That's what they are. They're just really bad. They are just awful. The standard of officiating in this country is disgustingly bad. Disgustingly bad. Evan Nilsson is in this game because a red card was overturned. We talk about this in one of the previous shows. The red card that VAR gave Evan Nilsson, he slips into a challenge. You can clearly see that he slips, and they give him a red card. This isn't just an Arsenal thing. I mean, Arsenal, there is definitely a conversation to be had about the decisions that Arsenal get. It's not just an Arsenal thing. The red card that Evan Nilsson got for slipping over that was, in retrospect, rescinded. There's too many of these situations. There's too many times red cards being overturned. We could talk of that Miles Lewis-Skelly situation, of course. That's another horrendous call that was given this season against Arsenal. Thankfully, in that individual game, it didn't cost us. We went on to win that game, even though we were down to 10 men for more so of the match than Wolves were. It's nuts. And, Founding Titan says complaining about the refs is pointless. It's pointless only in the context that nothing's going to change. If maybe you missed the the context I gave before we went into this conversation. Again, I'll preface this to stop the whingers and moaners picking up on it. Performance weren't good enough. We were bad. We didn't deserve to win this game. Arteta's at fault. Many of the players are at fault. Things had to be different. It's a big, big problem that has to be sorted very soon. Separately, this is happening too often in our game. This is ruining our game. This is ruining the Premier League. This is ruining lives and livelihoods and jobs. It is awful. It is horrendous. I don't know how many more adjectives I can use to adequately put this across. There needs to be a significant overhaul, inquiry about the standard of officiating. I don't want to sit here and use words like that I see people using in chat boxes, ulterior motives, so on and so forth, because I pray that's not the case. I really pray it's not. I know plenty of you in the chat box sincerely believe all otherwise. I think that I just can't I can't help but sit here and just think they're terrible. That they're just awful, awful, awful referees. Noah says we can't keep blaming the rest. We had time to score and we didn't. Again, you know, and I sat here in the morning before doing the show, and I was like, "Am I gonna bother doing the show today?" You know, I've done how many of these shows now? We must be on 1,200 odd shows. And I sat there, and I was like, I could choose to not do it. Like, I could just not do the show. I could not turn up like our players didn't really turn up yesterday. I could just not do it. And one of the main reasons why I wouldn't want to do it is mainly because of obviously comments like this. And you'll hear me saying on shows quite regularly, which is like, people leave comments without listening to what I've said. And maybe they joined the show late. Maybe they've missed what I've said, or maybe they're just on a wind up or whatever. But oh my goodness me, I must have blocked more accounts in the last 24 hours than ever in my life. My patience is gone now. My patience is just gone. I did the show we did yesterday or the day before. We were talking about. I talked about how I look back at some of my tactical breakdowns and I cringe at some of the videos that I've done in the past because I now know plenty more about analytics and how I'm just so out of the know in comparison to genuine, kind of coaches in the game. Someone leave a comment saying, "How can you call people like James B cringe for doing tactics?" I was like, mate, I said I watched my videos and I cringed at my own videos, but apparently me saying I cringe at my own videos is an insult to other people. Honestly, it's nuts. The internet's a mad place. I recommend getting away from it as much as you can, and I really need to take my own advice. So should we be worried about the top 5? Should we be worried about qualification for next season's Champions League? I'm not going to tell you no. I'm not going to say to you, no, we categorically shouldn't be worried about qualification for the top 5 for next season. Because Arsenal currently are, yes, they're 7 points ahead of that 6th spot. They could be only 4 points ahead of that 6th spot come the end of play today. Nottingham Forest, of course, are in action themselves. They're away at Crystal Palace, which is no easy game. But Palace, of course, have got distractions and have not won in their last 4 games. But, you know, Forest as well have only won 1 of their last 4 games as well. So neither of them are in good form. Chelsea are at home, to Liverpool. But I think Liverpool are going to pretty much be on the beach. Chelsea have got far more motivations than Liverpool do to win that game. But who knows? We might see Arne Slot go for it. Newcastle are away at Brighton, but Newcastle are the form side of the league, whereas Brighton have only won 1 of their last 5 games as well. Man City are only 3 points behind Arsenal, and their next game is away to Southampton next weekend. So, you know, they're 3 points behind, having played the same amount of games as Arsenal. Should Arsenal beat Southampton on the final day, they will finish in the top 5. I think it's pretty guaranteed that will happen. The reason why it's pretty guaranteed is because Chelsea and Newcastle play each other. Chelsea and Nottingham Forest play each other as well. So in that sense, I think things will be all right. Chelsea also play Liverpool, as I've mentioned. Newcastle play us, and Newcastle and Nottingham Forest have also got 2 other games where they play away to West Ham and Leicester. They'll probably win those matches, but their form's been pretty poor as well. We'll probably be all right. You know, we'll probably be okay. But finishing second, I think Newcastle are probably going to be favourites to finish second. If not City, you can easily see us finishing 4th at the moment, which is not great. You know, you want to finish as high up the table as you can. Yes, we can't win the league. You want to finish as high up. It's clear that the players, for me, despite the fact that Arteta said, you know, we try not to think about it in this way, it's so obvious to me that the players' motivations are just gone. You know, in domestically, the only real thing is the Champions League. There's a real motivation there, something to chase, something to get. But in the league, their heads just seem to have gone. Like their heads were very much, I feel, on the PSG game. And with all the context of the season, yes, I can have empathy for why they feel the season's gone. But and they're tired. And Brandon tells, the players are tired, and of course they're tired. We can barely rotate effectively. Like we can barely change things. PSG changed 10 players. PSG changed 10 players the weekend. Oh, the luxury that we would have to change 10 players. Oh, I would love it. I'd love to be able to be in that position where you can. But we can't because we've still got to try and finish as high up the league table as we can. It's Rich says unprofessional. Yeah, you could argue it's unprofessional. I don't have an issue with that. It does feel a bit unprofessional. There is definitely an edge to these performances. I empathise with it, but it's not good enough. It's just not good enough the way that we're performing, the way that we're playing. Right, let's go to part 2. I can't say it's going to be a very long part 2, but let's go to part 2 and see what happens. Right, let's jump into the chat box, shall we? And take on some of your thoughts, some of your feelings, some of your complaints, I imagine, as well. So let's do that, shall we? Let's go to Matthew says, if we get KO'd by PSG, the boys will refocus on the Premier League and think Newcastle at home becomes a big game. I mean, it's already a big game, though, Matthew. We shouldn't be relying on getting knocked out of the Champions League for the players to refocus back on making sure we get Champions League qualification for next season. We just should, sometimes teams have worse seasons, it happens. If you have a look at like Liverpool's league finishes, the season where they had obviously their awful league campaign because of injuries mainly, and they ended up finishing outside of the European places. They finished, well outside that. They went on next season to have a good campaign. You think about, of course, the seasons that they've picked up Champions League trophies, for example. The season prior to the Champions League trophy they picked up, it wasn't a particularly good season for Liverpool, and they've gone on to win that. So sometimes bad things happen. Sometimes you have dips. It's to keep on battling away every season is not easy, especially when we've had the amount of players that we've lost. But the reality is that we find ourselves needing a lot this summer. We know we have the right manager because he's obviously put us back into this position. The fact that Arsenal still are second and will be second, of course, by the end of play today with 3 games left to play based upon everything that's happened this season is ridiculous. The fact that we are where we are is a joke. I can't based on everything that's happened to us, we should be 4th, 5th, 6th by now, but we're not. And the fact that Arsenal find themselves in the Champions League semi-final after battering Real Madrid, I have no words to really describe how on earth we've managed to do that. But I do think that there has to be some reflections, obviously, when this season comes to an end about what obviously does need to change, what needs to improve. We know that Arteta needs to be back this summer. We know that things have to be better. And we know that we have to go and add those key players. And we have to add the players. We have to add the players that we need. If we don't spend, if we don't back him, if we don't invest this summer, what's the point? So I don't want another disappointing window. I don't want another 6 out of 10 window like last summer. I don't want another 0 out of 10 January. I want these windows to be helpful. That for me is important. And obviously, you still get fans like Founding Titan who talk about the 800 million in isolation. They don't talk about how much other teams have spent in comparison to us. That doesn't matter to them. But we have to go, you have to ignore these people and you have to look at the facts. You have to look at the context of everything and recognise where Arsenal were 5.5 years ago to where they are now is night and day. And that's thanks mainly to Arteta, of course, but thanks also to the players that are contributing on a regular occasion. That's in spite of the injuries, in spite of the ridiculous decisions. So, I'm glad that we are still progressing in that sense. Certainly this season, league-wise, we're not as competitive, and you can certainly explain the reasons for that. But in Europe and in the cup competitions, people have asked us to go a lot further in the cup competitions. We've done that. We just need to try and pick up the silverware because we can't keep going season on season without it. We've talked about how in this particular contract for Arteta to earn the next contract, he has to lift that Champions League title or he has to lift that Premier League title. He has to lift one of those to earn the next deal to really justify that next contract. So let's hope, of course, that we're able to do that. But certainly still very much look at us being in the right track. Malali says, can you realistically see more than 4 players coming in with some likely to go? Seems unrealistic. I can, yeah. I'd be very disappointed if Arsenal did sign 4 or less players in the summer. I would personally be disappointed with that. We only signed 4 players last summer, and it was a poor summer window. So, yeah, absolutely I'm looking at Arsenal going out and spending a lot of money on a lot of players. There's a lot of work to do. We need a centre forward. We need a wide forward. We need a midfielder. We need a defender. We need a backup goalkeeper. We've got a lot of work to do. So, yeah, 100%. 100%. We need to spend more. And we need to be bringing in more than 4 players. Titan says you're more interested. Yeah, we're just not interested in people like you. We're just not interested because you're not interested in having proper conversations. Paul says, not an excuse, but an observation. If we didn't have long-term injuries to Saka, Havertz, Tomiyasu, Jesus, Calafiori, White, and Jorginho, our season would have been so different. I mean, obviously, it's not just those players. You can add Odegaard's 2 months out. You can add Martinelli's time out. You can add Waneri's time out at that important point of the season in January. We were lacking in players, lacking in options. It's more than just those listed there. I often see players being listed off as being absent, and the amount of times people forget some of the other players that have been missing is crazy. And says, Tom, unfortunately, I can't sympathise with what's going on. We took a gamble in January, and look what happened. Oh, that is January. Is when I look at kind of reasons why Arsenal have not won the league this season. If you were to kind of rank the reasons why Arsenal weren't, number 1 for me is injuries, obviously, but number 2 is January. Number 3 is the refereeing controversies. I think you can take games away from referees, and I think you do that by having quality, significant quality in your team and taking games away from opponents. Like the disgusting decision yesterday should never have affected the game. Arsenal should have been free and clear by the time that Evan Nilsson elbowed the ball into the net. And that's why you have to look at those refereeing choices as being behind January. Injuries, without a doubt, are number 1, but after that, it's January and the summer. You can kind of bundle them into one. The recruitment this season has been a failure. There's no doubt about that. If you bundle the summer and January together in the context of both those windows, without a doubt, it's a failure. As Paul describes, it was a car crash. It was an utter disgrace of a transfer window for Arsenal. When you're and it's not the first time this has happened, is it? It's not the first time that we've been in this scenario where we're chasing something. We've got a chance of maybe doing some business, and we don't. That's again an issue that has to change. Last summer, we didn't bring anyone in January, did we? I'm trying to think. Did anyone come in January? Last season when we were chasing the title, I don't think so. That's unacceptable. That's not. That can't happen. And now Edu's gone. Edu is not here anymore. And so we are now looking at a different team, so that we can rightfully complain about the transfers this season. We can rightfully complain about the business. Absolutely. The guy that was in charge of that is gone. He's not here anymore. So all the people that were saying Edu out, it may not have come about through the club making that decision, but you've got your wish. Okay? You've got your wish. The guy in charge, Arteta's not in charge of transfers. It's worth pointing that out. The guy who's sporting director is in charge of the transfers. They're the ones that bring the players in. They're the ones that are tasked with it. Arteta's not got the time to be sorting out transfers. It's always worth educating yourselves around who is in charge of what. Edu is in charge of the deals. Arteta signs off on it. Arteta's got to be, he's not going to see a player come in that he doesn't want. But if he wants players, and we know that he wanted players in January, he could not have been more vocal about that if he tried. But when it comes down to the idea that we can still blame looking forward, you can still be annoyed at the recruitment team. No. This summer, Andrea Berta, he's the guy in charge now. He's the guy in focus. He's the guy in the crosshairs. He's the guy in the sights. So when we're looking at this summer, and it's not a case of he gets a practice summer at Arsenal. No, this is not an appointment that gets time. This is not an appointment that gets a practice go. This summer is massive for Arsenal, and the appointment that the club have made is not on somebody who is up and coming. It's not on somebody that's learning on the job. This is somebody that is coming in with 12 years of experience at one of the biggest clubs in Europe and is coming in to hit the ground running. That's what we are expecting. So this summer, there's no excuses. There's no gimmies. There's no free hits. This summer is you have to succeed. You are under scrutiny from day one. I'm really happy with the appointment, and I've got a lot of faith in Andrea Berta as well. And I'm really happy that Arsenal went down a pathway I didn't expect them to go down. I'm all up for that type of change because I think we have needed to be more aggressive in the market and to be different in the market than we have been. And if Edu was to go, and I'm very critical of him going because I think he left his project half-baked, but if he was to go, I'm glad that we didn't go for a Thomas Rosicky in the end. I'm glad that we didn't go for a promoting Jason Ato in the end. I'm happy that Arsenal went for the different option. And so that's why I'm very happy to see Andrea Berta in charge. And I'm looking forward to seeing what we do. Gooner Ross says January was one of the reasons why we lost a lot of points in the league. Yeah, without a doubt. As I said, for me, it's if I'm looking at reasons why Arsenal didn't overall, if you want to talk about within our control, number 1, January in transfers, number 2, finishing, number 3, chance creation. Even chance creation, I'm tempted to now bump below like set piece defending. Like 48% of our goals have come from set pieces. That's not good. Defensively, there have been issues, and yes, White missing for the majority of the season, bringing in an 18-year-old who's been brilliant in Lewis Skelly, but that comes with its, there's going to be, you're going to lose points. That famous Arsene Wenger quote, he accepted the fact that you were going to lose some games, drop some points because you want to give, and sometimes in our case, have to give a youngster opportunities. And that has happened. The Liverpool game, obviously, we think of famously. But the defending's not been good enough this season. It's been much poorer than in previous seasons as well. And I can't necessarily look at that. Arteta's had mistakes, don't get me wrong. But Arteta's the reason that Arsenal was still very much in a Champions League semi-final. What he has done with the available group of players, despite being let down, I can't put into words how impressed I am with that. I know not everyone agrees, and that's fine. You're allowed your opinions. I just significantly disagree with the point of view that you're looking at the manager so much in these moments, because I think what he's done with what he's had this season is mad to me. I can't believe we are where we are. Captain Presence says, hey, Tom, I haven't watched any reactions to the loss yesterday. You're first and the last for me today. And then I'm moving on to PSG. I don't blame you, mate. This might be as positive as you get. This just might be, and I am fuming about yesterday. So I entered that press room and I just turned to Art DeRoche. I was like, well, that was just. I won't repeat what I said here, but I just like, that was just so bad. Amaragona says, Tom, yesterday showed how underrated Gabriel is. Again, yeah, I'm the fact that we're in a Champions League semi and we don't have Gabriel. This wasn't supposed to be how it was. When Arsenal got to a Champions League semi with a chance of winning that title, the fact that we don't have a centre forward, the fact that we don't have our best defender. Vegas Gunner said checkbook manager. Imagine that, right? Champions League semi-final. Checkbook manager. He's lost all of these players, but checkbook manager. he's getting to a Champions League semi-final. He's beating Real Madrid with an 18-year-old graduate at left back. Jakob Kivior playing left centre half. We're beating Real Madrid 5-1. Checkbook manager. It's nuts, isn't it? Like £5 million left winger. Academy graduate right winger, Miko Marino at centre forward, checkbook manager. It's mad that. And I'm praying, of course, that's sarcasm. But this is a man, as I say, this is a manager that beat Real Madrid 5-1 with Miko Marino as a centre forward, with an 18-year-old graduate at left back, with Jakob Kivior in the back line instead of Gabriel, who's injured, with an entirely out of form Martin Odegaard. It's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy how they've managed to do that. Amira says, beat Real Madrid home and away without arguably our best defender in the past 2 seasons. This is what I mean. Like, Brantas says, Tom, has Arteta ever commented on Odegaard's poor form? Yeah, yes, he has, because I asked him myself. I personally think people put too much too much stock in like the answers that you get. People read Arteta's answers from press conferences and take them like literally. I saw a comment saying Arteta's a real gaslighter. I mean, maybe, but that's just what PR press conferences are. Like, if you take press conferences very literally, that's more on you, to be honest. If you should recognise that he's just giving answers to the public face. And if you watch the All or Nothing documentary, you know how differently he speaks. If you watch the last episode of the All or Nothing documentary, he says in that Newcastle dressing room, I'm going to go in there and defend you now. What managers say in press conferences, if you've taken them literally, I'm sorry. I have no sympathy for you're gaslighting yourselves at the end of the day doing that. Anyway, I did ask about Odegaard. Yeah, I asked about his form and his dips and maybe the reasons as to why. And he said there are many factors, I think. Obviously, the long-term injury doesn't help to give you the consistency and the platform to continue in the season. But yeah, it's very difficult. I mean, the level of consistency he's shown is unbelievable. For an attacking player to be constantly there, very rare. But there is always ups and downs, especially the players that are very creative and they rely on the spark and creative moments in games. But there are other aspects of his games that remain intact. And we know what those aspects of his game are that remain intact. Remember, we did that show a few days, I think it was this week, right? Or maybe last week, where we had that graphic of kind of progressive passes with passes into the box. Odegaard's still ranking exceptionally highly when it comes to those metrics. But by his standards, we know from watching him, he's not the same Martin Odegaard that we have come to expect. He's not the Odegaard that's picked up 2 Player of the Season awards. He's going to be nowhere near those levels this season. He's just not on it. While he's producing some of those numbers this season still, yeah, he's just not been. And to be honest, if we had more depth, if we had more players available, if Havertz was fit, if Jesus was fit, I imagine that Odegaard probably would have been dropped. Havertz might have been playing in that second striker role with Jesus up top, or even Mikel Merino and Havertz together. If Havertz's loss cannot be understated as being such a huge blow to this team this season. Havertz is a massive, massive loss to this team. No matter what idiots might tell you wrongly about him, he's been a very important player for Arsenal these last 2 seasons. And obviously losing him is a huge, huge blow. Jay says, not sure if this has been mentioned, but I thought Moreno had a good cameo off the bench. I'll be honest with you, Jay. I didn't really notice it. I didn't really notice it. He's not fully fit anyway, and I kind of just wanted him to be fully rested. But in the end, he had to come off the bench, didn't he, as we tried to chase the game. John says, losing 21 points in winning positions. Is it down to injuries and suspensions? Is it down to bagging, game management, the ability to kill games? Obviously, I think losing from winning positions, naturally, you look at the depth, don't you? You look at the players tiring. You look at other teams that would usually be able to make changes and finish games strongly. We haven't got that depth to be able to do that. And so therefore, as the players tire and other teams are able to bring on more talent, yesterday, Bournemouth brought on Semenyo off the bench. Bournemouth have got more depth than us at the moment right now. That's the reality that we're playing with. It's still a problem, don't get me wrong. And as I've mentioned, that defensively this season, we have not been good enough. But I think that comes more down to the fact that those winning positions are, other than the Aston Villa game, I might be right in thinking, are all 1-goal leads, right? They're all 1-goal leads that we keep blowing. We keep blowing these 1-goal leads because we aren't taking the chances that come along to kill games. We are not killing games this season. We are not doing a good enough job when it comes to our finishing. And if we were, and that's why, again, I put that down within our control beyond the transfers, that lack of finishing, that lack of clinicalness has been the biggest reason as to why we are sadly not winning the title this year. Chris says, does Arteta take any blame? Yes, absolutely. Some of the games, the decisions have not been good enough from the bench. He could have brought on, we were talking about that yesterday, or rather just earlier. He's not made changes early enough in games. He doesn't have enough faith in certain players on the bench as much as I would like him to. I think he's made some selection decisions this season as well. The Brentford game in particular, I wasn't particularly happy with how we set up. The Palace game, the fact he started Sterling over Waneri, not good enough. I don't agree with that at all. So yeah, without a doubt, if you're conceding 48% of your goals with set pieces, you have to look at the coaching there as well. What's going on? Why is that happening? Why are 48% of our goals being conceded from set pieces? Why do you keep playing Odegaard when clearly he needs to be taken out of the firing line sooner? So, yeah, Christopher, absolutely take some blame for this. There are things way bigger than Arteta going on here, but he is definitely not absolved from any blame. John says, any inside info on Timber's injury? I was just told that it was a minor knock picked up in the PSG game. You know, he came off of Ben White. Hopefully he'll be fine, but we don't know. I doubt we will know, even in the press conference on Tuesday. Anyway, I've done way more on this show than I thought I was gonna. So thank you so much for those that have stuck with us, that have listened. We really do appreciate you being here. Thanks to 99% of you that have been respectful and not been trolling as well. Always do appreciate you all. If you need to take a break, please do. I'm going to go enjoy the rest of my Sunday. I'll be back with you tomorrow morning. Of course, the last day before, indeed, we're going off to Paris. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be fun. Looking forward to it. Stay safe, stay well, stay happy, respectful, and as always, up the Arsenal.